and welcome to the 44th episode of the Honesty Pod with me, Beth Quatenton. Here you will find nothing but honesty, whether you like it or not, and things that you need to hear. So this episode is brought to you by none other than me, Beth Quatenton, health and female life coach, you know. And not only this, but this episode and the rest from now on until the future will be recorded and uploaded onto YouTube as well. And I've also created some socials for the podcast as well, because I was like, you know what, this podcast needs to level up a little bit, and this is what I am doing. And I haven't posted an episode for the last 2 weeks just because I will go through all of that drama in this episode. But yeah, due to stuff happening and moving, and I'm basically back in the UK now. So I was in Barcelona, I'm now back in the UK for the foreseeable future. And there's just lots of stuff happening. So I'm going to update you, and also we're going to talk a lot about how gratitude will save you from an absolute meltdown, because that is what has kept me together over these last couple of weeks with everything I'm about to share with you, and you will understand why in a little bit, okay? So, on the topic of gratitude, you know, it's something that we very rarely practice, okay? And it's just something that a lot of us forget a lot of the time to practice. And as I said earlier, it's something that I have been practicing so much over the last couple of weeks, because I realised, you know, I used it here and there before, but I now realise how powerful and how necessary, honestly, how necessary gratitude is. And, you know, I probably, before the last couple of weeks, didn't practice it as much as I maybe should have. But now, due to the drama of the last couple of weeks, your gal is, I want to say gratitude whore, but that's just, I feel like gratitude and whore should not be in the same sentence. But yeah, you get me. So, you know, this is something that, gratitude is something that I've been using just to kind of help my brain calm down a little bit over the last couple of weeks. And this is because I got mugged in Barcelona. Yes, she did. Literally the last weekend that I spent there, I got mugged. And for those of you that maybe this is your first podcast episode that you're listening to, I basically moved to Barcelona for a month because my work is entirely online, and I was like, you know what, I want a new challenge. So I left Brighton, went to stay in Barcelona for a month, and then was going to come back to the UK. And yeah, literally on the last weekend, your gal got mugged. So I'm all good though, they didn't hurt me, or yeah, nothing was done to me or the girl that I was with. They just stole my phone, and then because I'm an idiot, but also I like to have things to hand, I had one of those phone cases where you can put a couple of cards in the back of your phone. So they also, from getting my phone, they also got my 2 bank cards and my ID, and then my gym card that I was using for the gym that I was using there. So yeah, that really was not how I wanted my holiday to end. So yeah, I'm very aware it could have been a lot worse. I could have been harmed during the mugging. I could have had my passport stolen, and lots of other things could have happened. So realistically, I had a pretty okay mugging, like, if we can say that. If I was to rate that mugging experience on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being catastrophic and 1 being, what would 1 even be? 1 being, I don't know, they stole a sweetie off me. Something just very irrelevant. I would say like it was a solid 4. Because although they stole my phone, which literally has my life on it, and I didn't have access to Instagram, which is my main kind of social platform. If you don't follow me there, I really recommend it. I'm actually quite funny. At Beth Q Fitness, okay? Yeah, follow. So yeah, I would rate it a solid 4 because although it was very inconvenient not having a phone in a foreign country, it was a lot of learning curves for me. And you know what, even though I did have a minor panic attack after the whole thing happened, because I realised, holy shit, I'm in a country where I have no money, no phone, and I don't have anyone else to rely on out there either. But yeah, I think it was, do you know what? It was a good experience in the sense of it made me realise that actually I'm a lot stronger than I think. I am a lot stronger than I think, and I think I've done a lot of growing over the last year, no, 2 years, let's say 2 years, yeah, pretty much since COVID started. I've done so much growing in terms of like my mental health, and yeah, it's made me really want to use gratitude more, because it is actually an incredibly powerful tool that I think a lot of people don't utilise. Okay, so let me just catch up on where I'm at. So, as I was saying, you know, I'd rather that kind of didn't happen, because it was very annoying to then have to get a new phone, new bank cards, cancel everything, you know, have to come back to the UK earlier than expected. However, I'm also, in a way, glad it did happen, because as I said, like I realise how much that I am actually okay, and I'm actually incredibly thankful and grateful for nothing to have happened, if that makes sense. You know, no one was harmed. It was only just stuff that was taken. It was nothing that was, I guess, sentimental, because those usually are the things that, you know, you can't just replace it if it's sentimental. You know, that particular thing may be given to you by someone that's not here anymore, or someone that, you know, you no longer talk to. So yeah, I'm incredibly grateful that it didn't go worse than it could have. And as I say, at the end of the day, it was just stuff. And people were saying this to me when I kind of, you know, had to come back and be like, hi everyone, I no longer have a phone, this is why, etc. You know, so many people said, you know, I'm so glad that you didn't get hurt, and that it was just stuff that they'd stolen. And during that time, I was in my woe is me stage, because I was also hungover the next day. Don't have more than 2 drinks in a foreign country, or maybe just ever. Don't have more than 2 drinks, okay? I severely regret all of that, and I have not drunk since, and I do not want to. Anyway, it would have been very easy for me to go into complete meltdown mode, and I mean like unstoppable, unconsolable meltdown mode, where I'm just freaking out about everything and over exaggerating everything, because that is very much where I used to be before kind of going through therapy, being on medication. You know, my anxiety would just make me go, like, the thoughts would be crazy. So I'm incredibly glad that I have worked on myself. Let me just rephrase. I'm incredibly grateful that I have worked on myself to a point where even if something like that happens, I can deal with it and move forward, and not melt down into a puddle and kind of have other people try and fix it for me. Does that make sense? Because I think if this had happened a couple of years ago, or maybe even a couple of months before I went out to Barcelona, you know, because I went out to Barcelona by myself, to live out there by myself, and just to kind of live, work, tan a little bit, and just kind of experience a new culture, because I could, you know, I've got the freedom to be able to do that, and I'm very, very, very grateful that I've got that. So, you know, I knew that if I didn't control my thoughts and didn't rationalize them, then I 100% would go into full meltdown mode, and that just would not be pretty for you guys or for me or for anyone else that's witnessing that. Like, it's just not something that anyone needs to see. However, I just didn't. Like, I had a bit of maybe like a half an hour meltdown after it happened, but also I was intoxicated, so that also makes everything more extreme. However, I am very proud of myself for the way I dealt with it. And I think these words, you know, I am proud of myself for X, Y, and Z, people don't say that enough. We do not say that enough about ourselves, unless it's something that's almost like life-changing. Then you're not going to be like, oh, I'm really proud of myself because the other day, even though I didn't want to go to the gym, I went to the gym. We don't say this enough. So my challenge to you guys is to say that you are proud of yourself, and you don't even have to say it to other people. You can say it to yourself in the mirror, and I know that sounds weird. However, there's a lot of studies to suggest that, you know, almost talking to yourself in the mirror and giving yourself a pep talk, or, you know, just kind of bigging yourself up in the mirror is actually incredibly powerful. And it's almost like you're building a bond with yourself and treating yourself like a friend, like maybe even a best friend. And I think a lot of us don't ever think of ourselves as a friend of ourselves or a best friend of ourselves, or even just looking at the relationships that we have with ourselves. And that in itself creates a lot of issues. So build that relationship with yourself. You know, if you are talking to yourself in such a negative way that you just really dislike yourself, and you're always the first to kind of pick faults in what you do or how you look like, or you know, anything like that, then that's a sign that we need to do a little bit of work here. You know, we need to do a little bit of work. We need to make sure that we're not our own worst enemy, and that we are supporting ourselves wholeheartedly. Because a lot of us don't actually do that. You know, we're kind of like, oh yeah, I want to do this, but then they don't, you know, work on the relationship they have with themselves and the internal dialogue that they have to then make it and put it into action, you know, and, you know, almost mentor yourself through it. Because that's ultimately what you've got to do. It is ultimately what you've got to do. You've got to work on that connection between your brain and your body. Your brain and your body. Because once that connection is where it needs to be, you are quite literally unstoppable. And of course you can have other support networks as well, other friends, family, etc. But the most important one is the one between your brain and your body. Always, always, always. And again, gratitude can help massively with that. You know, being grateful that, oh, I pre-made lunch for myself last night. I'm grateful for myself for doing that, because now I don't have to worry about cooking today. And no one likes cooking when it's really hot outside. You know, so just little things like that, just building it very, very slowly is going to be a fantastic journey for you, okay? So, as I was saying earlier, my advice to you is to practice gratitude more regularly and just like clock it in your brain. You know, if you do something for yourself, for others, or if others do something for you also, practice gratitude and tell them, thank you so much for doing X, Y, and Z. I really, really appreciate it, rather than just kind of seeing it, smiling, and then not, you know, conveying how much that meant to you to that person. Because I think, do you know what, I used to be scared to do that. I used to, and sometimes I still get a little bit weird about it, like thanking people if they do something for me. I don't know why, and it's something that I definitely need to figure out where this has come from. But sometimes I get a little bit weird about thanking people for doing something for me. You know, it's almost like I feel weird that they're doing something for me, and it's just something that makes me a little bit uncomfortable. But we should just practice these like words of affirmation, and you know, towards ourselves and towards colleagues, co-workers, your boss, your mum, your dad, family, friends, your other half, brother, sister, you know, everyone. Because everyone appreciates a little bit of gratitude and just a little bit of, they've seen me, you know, they've seen that I've done this for them, and I appreciate that they've thanked me for it, or, you know, said how much it's made their day. You know, everyone will appreciate that. For sure. For sure. So yes, moral of this podcast, gratitude is incredibly important and should be used as much as you can throughout the day. And the more you use it, realistically, the better your thought pattern is going to be, and the easier it is to turn negatives, aka being mugged in Barcelona, into a positive. Because I did not completely fall apart and crumble when that happened. I was like, you know what? Next, what's the plan of action? What am I going to do now? What do I need to do? How am I going to make sure I am safe, and that I am still connected to my clients, and I can still work, and I can still communicate with my friends and family to let them know I'm okay. You know, what are my next steps for that? And when am I going to go home? Do I need to go home earlier? Etc, etc. And I figured it all out. We're here. We found a new place to reside in. A very, very cute cabin, as you can see if you're watching on YouTube. Very, very cute. So yes, you will be seeing more of this beautiful, beautiful little cabin and me. Because, as I say, every episode from now on is also going to be recorded via video and popped onto YouTube if you like that. Because sometimes I like watching podcasts, even though it's just two people talking. I like to register their body language and register their eye contact and all of this kind of stuff. So I thought, you know what, I'll give you two options. You know, that's just how considerate I am, right? You know, watch on YouTube too. So thank you so much for listening to this episode. I know it was a little bit rambly, however, we shall be back with a little bit more structure next week. I just wanted to kind of go through mostly why I hadn't been here for the last couple of weeks. I got mugged. And also, yeah, just some things I learned around that, because I think it's also very important when bad things do happen, to reflect on them and to try and find at least one positive of it. Okay, so if you enjoyed, please subscribe, and also subscribe to my YouTube as well if you're watching it on YouTube. If you're not, please still do subscribe, that would be really fantastic. And also follow me on Instagram at BethQFitness, and also follow the podcast on both Instagram and TikTok. The name is at The Honesty Pod. Same on both, nice and easy. And if you want to find out more about the body confidence coaching program that I run, then please message me on any of the podcasts or my personal Instagram platforms. I will get back to you, talk you through the program a little bit more, see if it's a good fit for you, and we can go from there. So if you've got any questions, drop me a message again on any of those social medias. I run them all, so I will get all of the messages. And apart from that, have a lovely day, drink your water, you do not need to be a human raisin, and I will see you in the next one.